Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast. It's a strange one today. It's an exciting one, and I know you guys were probably thinking that Steve and I would be sitting face to face, breathing each other's COVID-friendly air.
I guess it is now.
Is that what you call it, Steve? COVID-friendly air?
Are you going?
Anyway, Steve's here.
Nice
Hi,
to see
Steve.
you in a familiar setting.
I'm well.
Hmm.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? We see each other every week. Just to set the scene for the listeners, I'm in my kitchen cum living room. Our home is not very big. Steve's been here before, so it is a familiar surrounding. I'm a little bit out of whack, though, because as I said to Steve before we started recording, I don't really have the room to set up properly. I don't have my microphone stand because I got to buy a new one. It's all a bit weird at the moment. So hopefully this comes across and sounds okay. I'm sure Steve will tell me if it's not sounding okay before we go too far.
Yep. Is your place nice and clean?
It's all good.
You finished?
All right. So,
right.
Well, Natasha's been cleaning it. It wasn't clean. Considering our place was shut up for 2 years, and of course we've had, family looking after it, there wasn't a lot of dust. You know what I mean? There wasn't a huge amount of dust. But it still needed a lot of cleaning. Outside needed a lot of cleaning. So, but yeah, a lot of work to do, mate. So it's been a lot of cleaning, a lot of washing, a lot of cleaning the house, cleaning the car. We'll get onto that in a second. Before we go any further, if you haven't been here before, you're probably going, what are these two guys talking about? My name's Michael Barth. Steve on the other end. Steve's in Sydney, and today I'm actually in Sydney. And all our regular listeners will know that I've just left Bahrain and London, and now I'm back in Sydney. Steve and I were going to do this in person today, but I said, let's just do it by Zoom because I wasn't really organised and a lot of stuff's been going on with the car, etc. And Steve's also doing work. Just a quick update, Steve. So we left London. We had a few issues at the airport. We had our test done. You're supposed to get a test done 72 hours before leaving London. As per Singapore Airlines guidelines, as per all the things that were coming through, all the multiple emails every day, we get to the airport and apparently we needed a test 48 hours before, within 48 hours. And what the problem was Australia needed it within 72 hours. Singapore needed it within 48 hours. So we didn't have the right tests. They couldn't board us on the plane. So we had to go and get a test at the airport, pay another X amount of money. Quite a lot of money to get 2 tests done. We had to wait for 40 minutes for it to come through. We got our flight. We were pretty close. And that was it. So we had to do another test. So it was a bit of a hiccup, a bit of misinformation from Singapore. They didn't really give us the right information, which is a bit annoying.
Bit stressful.
Bit stressful. But that's about it. So we left there on Thursday. We arrived back in Sydney on Friday night. And then Saturday morning, I went to get my driver's license renewed, which was cool. But basically, I hadn't had...
What'd you have to do?
Well, I had to actually go to Service New South Wales, which is close by. Mm-hmm. First time I've actually done it at Service New South Wales. Last time I did it was RTA in Botany. And really do nothing. I just had to fill in... I had the form already that was sent to me 2 years ago. So I filled out that form, did all the details, had to get my photograph taken again, had to sit the eye test though. The eye test I almost failed, which was a bit scary. Basically, I hadn't had much sleep. I was a bit jet lagged. We'd slept about 3 hours that night. We went to bed about 4 in the morning, and I was awake at 7 to get there by 8:30 opening. And I got a letter wrong, and then he made me go back and say it again, and I knew what I did wrong, so then I said the correct one, and he said, "Oh, I thought you said something else the first time." I actually got through, so I got that. So I got my piece of paper, and hopefully I'll get my license in the next, week or so. I think it takes 2 weeks, right?
I don't know. It's been so long since I've kind of done it that way. I didn't realize, because the last time I got my license renewed, you could just do it all online, and they use the same, bizarrely, they use the same photo. So the photo of me is like 15 years old or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really strange.
I couldn't use I think my photo couldn't be used because of the expiry date of the license, I think.
Yep.
I think that's the reason why. So
cool.
Anyway, that's done. I thought it was going to be, honestly, I thought it was one of those things that I was thinking about that was stressing me out, and I thought it was going to be more of a hassle than what it was.
Yep.
It was actually pretty easy, and it was done in less than 10 minutes. I'm in and out of this because I got there so early in the morning. I got there when they opened, so that was good.
Yep.
What else? All right, so let me just go back because, we haven't been here for a week. As everyone knows, we had a little bit of a week off while I was traveling. I just want to go back to the Patreon members, Steve, that have joined over the last few weeks. We've got 3 new members of PorscheCooled. Stefan is one of them. Stefan is from... Stefan, thank you, Stefan. Stefan's from Germany. Stefan has a Boxster 986 2.7 Tiptronic for about 6 years. He actually converted it to a manual this year. He's actually been working on it. He sent me a long message on Patreon. I won't read it out here, but I might talk about it in a future episode about this because I think it's quite interesting. But he's basically, he converted it to a manual. He joined PorscheCooled. So thank you, Stefan. Thank you for supporting the podcast. The next person is, we all know who this is Gary. Gary is Owner Stories 58, which I'm going to talk about shortly. Gary was the last Owner Stories before we went on our break, Steve.
Yeah, cool.
Gary from New Jersey. So thank you, Gary, for joining again. I know I thank you personally, but thank you again.
Go, Gary.
Go, Gary. And then Alan. Alan was lucky. He was number 50. He was number 50 of the Patreon members. So I think we have 51 or 52 now. Alan's from San Francisco. Alan's got an Alan. I don't know if you told me what you had, Alan. I checked it on your Instagram, but maybe you did tell me. Alan's got a 996.1 Carrera and a 997.1 GT3 RS, Steve.
Wow, nice.
So if you want to go and have a look, he's got an Instagram. I'll tell you that later. But he's got a 997.1 GT3 RS in, looks like Carrera white, or it could be just white, but it's definitely white. So it's one of the whites.
What color are the decals?
Yeah, with the black decals on it. Very nice.
Okay, cool.
Very, very nice. Anyway, just if you don't know what Patreon is just where you go and support the podcast. It helps us talking. You just go to patreon.com/PorscheCooled and you can just join us for as low as, $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. It does really help us. So if you can go there and support us in any way, that would be fantastic. Steve, let me get on to owner stories. So like I said, Gary was number 58. Gary is from New Jersey. Hi, Gary. Gary owns 2 Porsches. It was a funny story when I was talking to Gary because it was like, I knew Gary had the two Porsches that he's driving, right? Which is the 996 and 997.
Yep.
But I didn't know when I started talking to him before we started recording, he'd actually owned around 15 to 20 Porsches. Yeah. So then we couldn't sort of talk about it. Yeah, he had quite a few. He's a big fan of transaxles. He's owned a lot of transaxles. He's owned the 944, 944 S2 turbos, 944 turbo. What else? 928 GT, which was the auto one because he couldn't get a manual. 968 cab, which is manual. All the others were manuals. So it was a good story. If you haven't listened to it already, I know a lot of people probably already have because it has been up for over a week now. But Gary had a good story because he moved to the US when he was about 10. Then he moved to Belgium. And then in Belgium, he bought his first Porsche, which was a 944, which he earned from working in the family business. At 17, he had a 944. So it's a bit like, Rich, who had the 944 when he was 16.
Yep.
And a car that he drove through Europe, really enjoyed it. It's interesting how much the love of these transaxles, though, Steve. I mean, I've never driven one. Have you ever driven one?
No, I've not even sat in one.
Really?
I always wanted to have a go because I think when I was in my 964 and 993, like I used to read whatever it is, 911 Porsche World and Total 911 all the time. So I'd read it front to back and they'd always kind of feature those sorts of cars, but I just had no understanding of it. Like I wonder how it would differ, say, from like an equivalent BMW, because, like if it's sort of front engine rear wheel drive, I wonder how, I'm assuming it's going to be better, but I kind of wonder what the difference is between like the driving experience.
You know what I get surprised about? Yeah, true. Good point. You know what I get surprised about is when I see cars in real life, and I know I've seen them before, and then I see them in perspective. Yesterday, and I'll get into it, but yesterday when I turned up at Autohaus, they were still taking cars out of the workshop.
Yep.
And a 914 reversed out. One of the guys works there was reversing out a 914.
Yep.
It really is tiny.
Yeah.
It is so small. I never realized how small it was. And it's so low. This one was smoking like the bejesus. I don't know if they were fixing that or not, but it was smoking pretty badly. Mm-hmm. But wow, what a tiny car.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you just well, if you think about like every time like a new model kind of comes out, it's like that much bigger than the last one. When I got into my uncle's 2002 TII sort of thing, that thing is miniature. It is so small, but it's quite surprisingly spacious on the inside, but the dimensions of it from the outside, I don't know, I guess maybe that's where all the safety stuff comes in, because, you know, like you really don't want to have a side impact in that thing.
Yeah. You don't want to roll it. You don't want to have a side impact. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing before we get into it, Steve. Apple ratings and reviews. Over the last week or so, there's been a couple of reviews. The first one, I think there's been 3 actually. First one, I know you like these. That's why I read them out for your benefit, because I know you don't see them. Committed enthusiast. I do know who this is. I do know this person. He's got the new GT3 actually. Hello, good morning, welcome. True enthusiasts that put their time into the passion we all share, calling in from different sides of the world. Much of the time, Michael and Steve have remained committed to delivering great content despite the sacrifices delivering great content despite the sacrifices of sleep deprivation. That's your thing, Steve. Bravo, gents, keep it up. So thank you so much. That's BMC SoCal. Thank you from the US. Next one, congratulations. This is from Jez. Thank you, Jez. Congratulations, guys, on 150 episodes. I'm really looking forward to hearing all about Michael's first drive after nearly 2 years. Hasn't happened yet. I drove to Autohaus yesterday, but we'll get on to that. Safe travels back to Australia. Regards, Jeremy, 992 Cotswolds, UK. But next week on the beaches and the Maldives. Jeremy was on previous owner stories. He's got the white 992 Carrera.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Cool.
The next one, number 1 for Porsche owner stories. I followed Michael even before he started his podcast shows because I liked watching his YouTube videos that talked about his own Porsche ownership experience. These owner story episodes allow you, the listener, to get a special glimpse into the lives of each of his guests as they share their own unique Porsche ownership experiences. If you love Porsches and the Porsche community, this podcast show is for you. And that's from Carrera-licious in the US. Thank you, Rich. That's Rich, who was on owner stories. Thank you so much, Rich.
Yeah, Rich.
Steve, what's been happening? Save my breath for a second. What's been going on with you? Have you been out in the car?
No, I haven't. The weather, as you've kind of landed in the midst of how the weather's sort of been for quite some time. And I'm still in sort of stupid, slightly precious mode about trying not to get the car too, not wet, but kind of too grimy after kind of spending all that time sort of ceramic coating it and all that sort of thing. So I haven't really been out much. Marco was away. He went on a little sort of road trip with his family. So yeah, and work's been busy. So I haven't really done much with the car. I just kind of go downstairs occasionally, tinker with it, clean something, tidy up something.
Take a photo, kiss it.
Yeah. Rub my nude body all over it.
I think we need to talk about that because you mentioned that in the last episode. You've done all this paint detailing. You've detailed it. You've ceramic coated it. You ceramic coated the windscreen. Didn't you? You sent a note in on our notes on that we do for the episode, and you said you've actually also now coated your tires. I mean, you think this is a problem because you just said it. You're a bit scared. You don't want to drive it in the rain. You don't want to drive it in the wet. You know? No,
like I preempted this. Like if you wind back probably like 100 episodes or whatever it is, like when my uncle was kind of getting into it and I was resisting very much like to not kind of do the whole thing because I knew that this exact kind of thing would happen, which is, and you know what it's like. It's no different from you kind of washing your car. Like when you go and wash your car and then you kind of wax it and you polish it up nicely and you spend like however many hours doing it. And then you look outside and it's kind of a bit dreary or it looks like it's going to rain. You kind of go, oh, if I don't have to drive, then I won't.
Yeah.
So
true.
I'm just in that kind of mode.
Yeah.
But it'll go. Like I know basically it's just going to take a little bit of time for the sort of whole precious phase to kind of wear off. So it's not because of anything in particular with the actual kind of detailing and the coating itself, although I must admit like a ceramic coating thing is not as maintenance free as the marketing kind of makes it out to be. But I think it's a lot more of it is just like the psychology, the mindset of it. So it's just because it looks sort of so kind of clean and new-ish sort of thing that you're sort of a little bit less or you're a little bit more resistant to kind of messing it up, if you know what I mean. But I'm sure if you kind of give me like another month or two, and once your car's done and we kind of start getting out and stuff like that, I'm sure all of that will kind of go out the window and like driving takes the priority.
I think it should.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we get on to what everyone's waiting to hear about? It's about the car. And I've had a lot of people message me, Steve. A lot of people have been messaging me about the... Actually, no, before I get into that, I want to say one other thing. I just want to say, before I left London, the last day I met London, I know Ajma wanted to meet up with me. I know other people, Nick at Classic Series, have been asking to meet up with me. It was very hard for me to get out of London because we had a lot of people visiting, Natasha's sister, friends from Bahrain, so it was a bit difficult. But I did manage to meet up with Nick from Owner Stories 1, my friend Nick in London.
Oh, cool.
Because he stays nearby where we live in London, so him and I met up, went out to our regular place for dinner.
Yep.
And that was good. Good to catch up with
What's
Nick.
he done to his car? Has he done anything?
Nothing. And I just want to say, Nick actually did correct me. I have actually seen one other Carrera GT, and it's when I was with Nick and we went out to Goodwood. He came and picked me up in London and we went to Goodwood for the day because he's a member. So getting onto the fact that he's a member, he's actually going to buy some tickets for the Festival of Speed. He wants me to go with the Festival of Speed with him and I think some other people, which is on 23rd of June. He's going to buy the tickets anyway. Hopefully it'll all work out. It'd be really cool to go there and
That'd be
see
awesome.
it. Yeah, it's something I've really wanted to see. So hopefully that will happen in June. I'm sure there's a lot of other listeners in the UK who are planning to do that. If you are, just reach out, let us know. Maybe we can sort of all meet up there. That would be a good thing.
I think of all of those types of shows and events and stuff, that and Luftkult would be the two that I'd kind of want to see the most.
Yeah, we should fly to LA next year and go to Luftkult just for the weekend, mate, and come back. Can you do that?
Yeah, maybe not. Hello to my wife if you can hear me.
Let's talk about the charts, and I'm not going to get into this chart banter and this chart competition with other podcasts, but I just want to say a special thanks, Steve, to our Italian listeners. Our Italian listeners have been really, really supportive of the podcast, and other countries too. Don't forget Sweden, Norway, all you guys, but Italian listeners have been quite supportive because I look at the charts on Chartable, and we're pretty much always recently we've been always in the top 5 or top 6. You know what I mean? For Italy. Is
that the dude with his 997 that's always in rude picturesque?
Kestas. Thank you, Kestas, for telling all your friends about the podcast, which is probably part of the reason. But we've always been consistently in the top 6, I think it is. This week we're number 2. Number 2 in Italy. I think that's pretty cool. So grazie mille to all of the people in Italy for supporting us. It's really, really cool that we're on the charts in a country that English is not your first language, but most Italians speak English very well.
Cool.
Steve, let's get on to it. So everyone's been asking me, how was the first drive in your 911? How was the first drive being back?
Stop for 1 sec. So from the moment that you got off the plane, you walked into your front door, how long did it take for you to do that and drop your bags to then go downstairs and check on your car?
Well, this is the weird bit. Usually...
You went and checked on your car first?
And it's been 2 days. Usually I would go straight down, pull the cover off, look at the car, check it over, make sure everything's okay, and wash the cover. This time I didn't go downstairs until... Actually, I can't remember. Did I go down the same night? Oh, maybe I did. No, I did.
So
I did go
12
down.
hours?
I went down, but it was quite late. And then I took the cover off, which was absolutely putrid. It was so filthy. And then underneath the car had all black dust on it. I rubbed my finger on it and it was all black. So the dirt still gets under, especially after that amount of time. And then I did actually play with the car. Sorry, I'm trying to remember. I was very tired. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know. Well, first I wanted to see the damage. Yep. And then I looked at it and thought, okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But I'll add to that story shortly because it actually kind of needed it anyway, so I'm actually okay with it. Yep. But it didn't seem as bad because you'd put the light back in for me, Steve. For the listeners that don't know, someone backed into my car or kicked my car or whatever they did while it was in storage.
Backed into it, right?
Backed into it. I think someone kicked it, but backed into it, we'll call it.
You reckon? That's a tyre mark on the cover, isn't it?
Very high tyre mark. Have to be a very big, very high car for a tyre mark that high.
Forward
I don't
drive?
know. It seemed very, very high. I don't know. Maybe it was a car. So when Steve went and checked on it, if you don't know the story already, it was torn inside the light cavity. A couple of dimples on the top and bottom of the parking light, isn't it? You call it the parking light. A couple of dimples. And Steve put it back in, and he put it back in really well. I mean, it still wasn't flush on the left side. I could have probably made it flush. I tried to get the light out. I actually did use the card and tried to get the light out. I couldn't get the light out. I tried to get it out that evening. I just couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't pull it out. It was stuck. It was stuck from the split, so I couldn't get it out. So I just left it.
Yep.
So that was that, and then I thought, I may as well check the air pressure because I was interested to know how much air pressure it would lose in 2 years. In the storage sort of routine that I go through, I put it up to 50 psi maximum on each tire. I knew how much it lost during a 6-month period, so I kind of thought it would lose around 15 to 17 psi over the 2 years. And literally each tire had lost 16 psi consistently, which was quite weird. So the rear tires were at
34.
Yeah, so the rear tires were at 34. They should be 40 because it's 34 and 40 is the set thing, for the car if you go by what Porsche says. And the front tires
Is that
were
high? Is that what the placard says?
Yep, 34 to 40.
Okay.
34 front, 40 back for my car. What you think that's too high? What do you think it should be?
No, I don't know. I just I know it varies in terms of summer tires plus 19s versus 18s. I don't even know. I don't even know what the factory pressures are for my car. I can't remember the last time I looked at it.
I don't know what Autohaus put in it, but on the placard inside the door, it's 34 front, 40 rear for 19 inch.
Yeah, okay. 40 is relatively high for tire pressures on a car.
Is it?
Which is good for wear, but not necessarily that good for grip. Although I guess it's just dependent on cars and all that sort of stuff.
I remember when I first went to Autohaus, I think they told me 36 front, 38 rear.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That sounds more, and that sounds similar to kind of what I run. I think I run even lower than that.
Oh, really? What do you... What, so you're doing four-wheel drive type of thing, overlanding thing where you get all the grip?
Yeah. When I drive through the sand and through that creek
but
that's at the back with the kangaroos hopping by.
Is the ride a bit soft, though, when it's that low?
Soft? My car? No.
Is that why, though?
No.
Is that why you do it lower? Because your car's got such hard suspension and the setup that it would be even harder if the tyres were pumped up to...
I think I just lost... didn't pay attention. So, obviously, whenever Autohaus kind of take the car, they I'm pretty sure they check it pretty much every time. And I think it's around 38, probably 38 rear, 36 front or thereabouts, maybe a fraction lower on the fronts. But I think also, to be honest, in summer as well, unless you've kind of got nitrogen in your car, and I don't even know if that actually does anything or not, but clearly there isn't nitrogen in mine because the pressures fluctuate in summer once you kind of get driving quite badly, the heat increases the pressure. So it goes up quite a few PSI.
Right.
In a Sydney summer.
I might actually ask them when I go out there. I might actually ask them what they set it at because I'm interested to know now because I'm do
sure
remember...
they'll set it for you.
Yeah, they check the pressure. I do remember someone saying out there, and it could have been Grant, was 36, 38 when I asked the question. And that was going way back. Yep. So anyway, did I drive the car straight away like Steve said? What I did, I went downstairs, I did that, I checked the air pressure, I had a look at the car. I didn't wash the car. I didn't even wash the car on Saturday. On Saturday, I went down there and I installed the back leather seat stops that I got from Linas. The first thing I started to install was the leather key surround, which just frustrated me. because it didn't fit. I couldn't actually get it to fit. And then I thought I was doing something really wrong how you do it, because you got to push the light switch in, Steve, and then click it to the right, and then you pull it out. And it comes out straight away with the plastic part. And then you unscrew the 3 torque screws, you take the inside key surround out, and you put the leather one in. So I screwed that in. That's all fine. No, I didn't have a video. I didn't do videos of anything. So I screwed that in, and then I went to put the key surround in, the one that Linus had done for me, the leather one. No, it's too tight. There's no the leather is way too thick. There's something wrong with it. It's either warped or there's something weird with it. And I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was going crazy. It could be the
thickness of the leather, because like one of my bits from exclusive options, like the window switch, the switch itself is a little bit sticky because there's that added thickness of the kind of extra leather kind of covering over the top of it.
Okay, the only way to get this in, you would need like a rubber hammer to hit it in. You would never get it out. And then even if you hit it in, it's probably going to push all the leather forward, where the little lip of the leather, it would push it forward, and it probably wouldn't even sit flush. It would probably still be a nightmare. So here I am thinking I'm going crazy, Steve. So I pulled it out, undid the 3 torque screws again, redid the torque screws, put the plastic one back in, and the plastic one just went straight in. So obviously it's the size of it. It was too problematic. Yeah, I just left it. I'm going to send him an email and tell him it didn't fit, because I think it's, he has to fix it for other people, because it's going to be an issue.
Because I've had John from Pro Stitch like wrap, little bits of trim that I keep collecting and stuff like that. And I remember I once told you, he gave me a bit of a sample, and he showed me how much he shaves the leather back when he kind of wraps a piece of trim like that. And it's surprisingly thin. Like it's like photocopy paper almost, maybe a tiny bit thicker than 80 GSM photocopy paper.
Right. Yeah, I think he didn't shave it back. I think he hasn't shaved it back, because there's no way it would fit. Absolutely no way. I was wondering how the exclusive option one would go, actually. If there's anyone listening that's bought the exclusive option leather key surround on a 997 and it's fitted, please let me know, because I'd be interested to know, because I thought maybe I should just buy one from them if it fits. Because it does actually look better. I know it's such a little part, but when you see the sheen of the key surround I have now, which is leather, and that, you can actually see the difference. Yeah, right. So I did the back seat, the back stops of the seat, the luggage rests. That was easy enough. They're just 2 screws underneath, 3.5 millimeter screws. So that was easy enough once I get into the back seat. How was
the match of the leather and the stitch, like to the factory bits?
Okay, yeah.
Apart from, like, I'm assuming it's a lot more matte kind of thing. Like you just can't,
can't
adjust for the fact that, like, 15-year-old leather versus brand new leather.
See, I don't have much leather. I have the original Porsche part that I bought recently, the console lid, which has got the stitch. Then I've got the consoles, the PCM console surrounds, which I got from LA Dismantler. They match. I think his stitch is a little bit different. You know how I was making that hoo-ha about the sunroof surround with the stitch on the sunroof surround?
Have you seen that? Have you got that?
Yeah, no, the stuff, even though the other ones look like they were white, the stitch on the sunroof surround actually is the same coloured stitch as all the other pieces.
Yep.
Which I didn't realise. And I don't understand how it looks so different in the photos.
I think that's what I was trying to say to you too, just from my experience, that with all the different pieces and stuff like that, like I think, it's really hard to photograph it. Like I think the lighting conditions make it look kind of so different. And every time I kind of go and visit a trimmer like John, or used to be kind of Clarence that I used to sort of see, every single time we'd get out the kind of reels of thread and we'd kind of match it up and make sure it's right and check it in the shade and check it in the sunlight. But even then, if you still go and look at my car right now, you'll go and look at it and you'll kind of go, certain bits don't match up, but I can't tell whether or not it's the spec of the thread or the leather, or if it's the interplay of the light on the interior.
Yeah. Well, I pulled out the inner door sills, the leather door sills. I haven't installed them. I wanted to go to Autohaus and to Atlas and get everything done first, and then I'll put them in. I also ran out of time as well, because I didn't want to get messed up. And I didn't do the sunroof surround either, because I didn't have any trim tools at the time, because I think I gave your one back. I must have given it back.
I thought you bought some.
I bought some, but they only arrived in the boxes that arrived from London yesterday, because we sent a few boxes from London. So they arrived yesterday. So I didn't have any trim tools, and I was like, oh, I could just use a knife, but then that's probably going to mess up my roof lining.
Don't do that.
So I left that, and I didn't do the inner door sills because that just, the sunroof surround looks complicated to me, like popping out lights and putting in plugs. It's like, I just didn't have the frame of mind the other day to do it anyway.
I did it. It's not too hard. That one's not too hard.
It's okay? Yeah. But I'll put that in next. Because I think that makes a difference above where you see it. It's all these, I think if you're buying leather parts for your car, and I think we've said this before, it's the things that you see and you touch a lot is what you want in leather. I mean, the leather back stops for the seats, the luggage stops, I know you don't touch them, but I like to have my rear seats down so when I look back I can see them and it makes me feel good to see them. You know what I mean? I think the hook on the back of your seat, and I think yours are leather, Steve, but that bit, as much as I'd like to buy them for $270, you don't really see them, and all I do is hang things on them, so I think it's a bit pointless to have that one. Sunroof surround is important. Inner door sills, every time you open the car, you see it. The leather sun visors, I installed those. I had a bit of a hiccup. I was a bit tired. I did it late on Sunday afternoon. I'd wash the car, give the car a quick wash, and then I put the leather sunroof, sun visors in.
Yep.
And, I read online, the guy said, be very careful when you take the little plastic cover off where the torque screw is. You can, with the sun visors, I'll just tell the listeners, you can take them off in two ways, as you know. You can pull them, pull them towards you and pull them to the right and pull them off the rod, which takes a bit of force and you think you're going to break them. Or you can, some people just undo the screws. Because my sun visors came with all the screws, these are the visors I bought from London and I sent them to Linas.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. The sun visors that I bought, one of them was broken. The cap was broken. So the clips were broken. And this is the thing that happens online. They say you have to be really careful when you take this little plastic cap off where the torque screw is behind it because it's very thin, the clips, and they break.
It's the cover that hides the fixtures like the screw heads and stuff like that.
Yeah, the one screw head. Yeah, the one screw. So they were reasonably easy to put in. You got to push them in and pull them out and whatever. And then, like I said, I didn't realize until I did the driver's side that it was broken, the cover. So then I had to take it off. And then I'd also broken another one. And then I got confused with the left and the right, and I'm trying to put the left cover on the right one. So like I was going through this process of just going crazy downstairs, and it took me about an hour to do it, and then I realized what I was doing wrong. So I just switched the cover off my original one, put it onto the other one, which means I had to pull the rod out. So now it's fine. It's fun. They're fitted, and the leather makes a big difference. They're nice. I find it very weird though, Steve, that cross stitch, that beautiful cross stitch, you don't actually see
because it's on the hidden edge that's closest to the headliner.
It's like, but I want to see that. That's actually really nice.
Why is that? This is probably getting really boring for everybody, but I remember there was that bit where you kind of asked me whether this stitch was kind of right. And I think I sort of said to you, I guess, like the trimmer has to seal.
It's like cross stitch.
They have to kind of seal it up at some point in time. So there's, but yeah, okay.
But the leather looks nice. The sun visors are nice in the leather, and it seems to work quite well.
This sounds wanky as all hell, but I really enjoy my Alcantara.
You like the Alcantara
visors? Yeah.
I mean, I could have got Alcantara because of the roof lining is kind of Alcantara, but I kind of wanted to keep it still how it was before. So it's black before, black vinyl. Now it's black leather. It does make a difference when you pull it down. The lights still work. I checked both the lights work with the window, with the mirror. And that little bit of detail stitch where the little thing is where you can stick your map behind the sun visor or business cards or whatever people used to do in the early.
What is that for?
You stick your business card there or your map there or something. Yeah, it's a bit weird. It's very old-fashioned.
My business card. Okay.
The one you don't have anymore. Anyway, so that's what I did. Quick update. I'm saying a quick update. Then on Tuesday, which was yesterday here, we're recording this on Wednesday.
Yep.
I went to Autohaus, Steve. I made sure I got there at 7:30 in the morning. Funny story, and you know the story, Ree, but funny story. I drove up to Autohaus. I actually almost drive into the garage, drive into the driveway before Autohaus. I don't know what I was doing. I turned too soon. I don't know what I was doing. So I went into Autohaus. I see this 996 on the left-hand side. I see this 996, and I think that number plate looks really familiar. And I didn't know, because I was just wanting to get the car in there, I was sort of all over the place. I waited for the 914 to come out, and then I drove in. Beautiful cars in there, like it was packed of cars, and there was a beautiful air-cooled 911 on the left, and There was a beautiful orange Cayman as well. Like, there's some really nice cars in there. Spoke to Chris, who's really, really helpful. The new Chris at Autohaus, the new Chris, as you call him. Yep. Great guy, really, really helpful. Put the car in, and then there's this gentleman standing to my right, and then I turn and look at him, and I think, actually, I do know you. And it was actually Miff, who's actually a Patreon member for a long time, who lives in Sydney, who had an orange 911 RS. He's got a 996, and he's got a Boxster S. So I had a chat with him, which was really cool. Had a chat with him. He actually gave me a lift back to the train station. And yes, I do catch public transport, not like Steve who gets loan cars. I do actually catch the train back from Autohaus.
How many diseases did you catch on the way?
Had my mask on. If I can catch the tube in London like a sardine, like what I've been doing for the last week, I can catch the train from Chatswood to back into the city. There's no one in the train. It was empty. It's crazy.
Yeah, just so people don't think I'm a complete tool, I get a loan car because I live so fucking far away that the Uber fare would way outstrip the cost of the loan car.
Steve lives in the sticks, so to speak.
I do. Yeah.
The rich sticks, but the sticks.
Anyway, sticks, the bad lanes.
Yeah. Anyway, hi Miff, because I know you're listening. But Miff had he's got a 996 in silver, the one I got a lift in. Really nice, Steve. The 996, I haven't been in one in such a long time. Like the last one was Tasha's boss, Tim, who had the Carrera 4. Miff's one has got like a blue interior. It's tip. But I tell you what, it was standard exhaust. And I asked Miff while we're driving back to the station, that the sound, it's got a really nice sound to it. It seems louder in the cabin than the 997. From what I remember when my exhaust was standard and the sound of it, because I could hear it on my right ear. I could hear the sound of the exhaust. It was really, really nice. And that blue interior is like a darker blue interior. It's very, very nice with the silver. I like it.
Yeah, cool.
So that was fun. That's what happened yesterday. Took it into Autohaus, like I said. Late yesterday, I got a call back, Steve, from Autohaus. And bearing in mind, what?
The dreaded call.
And the car, the call. And I thought it was going to be, I knew there were going to be things coming, as you know. So the list is quite long. Chris said to me, he said there's a few things. I knew the main part of it. When I took it to Chris, I thought it was going to be a major service. He said there's no need to do a major service. It'll be an annual service because you haven't driven it. There'll be no need to do spark plugs and stuff and that because you haven't driven it. That's kind of changed now due to another issue, which I'll get onto. But let's just run through it, Steve, and I'll get your opinion on what you think of these things. So there's one cost. I'm not going to say the prices. All I'll say to everyone is it's a substantial sum of money. It is more than what I was thinking. It is more than what I had put away to be saved. But that's okay because it hasn't been done in 2 years. And it's a lot of things which are, I guess one thing is maybe preventative, Steve. The others are all necessary. Okay. So one I could have said no to, but the cost of that thing, and I will actually say the cost of that one thing because it doesn't make a lot of difference to the total.
Which one was that one?
The cracks and the coils.
Oh, you didn't have to do that one?
I didn't have to, but they're pretty bad. Okay. They're pretty bad, and I'll get on to the reason why I did it, why I decided just to go ahead with it.
Sorry, so did Chris say that you could potentially have that one? That surprises me.
Yeah, well, I think that's what he said. But let me get onto it. So there was a service, which I knew was happening, so that's fine. The steering rack, which, as everyone knows, last time in 2019 when I had it serviced, that showed up. There was a steering rack leak. Your steering rack will leak if your car's sitting, if it doesn't get moisturized, the rubber seal or whatever, it gets reconditioned. It's not cheap to get reconditioned because when you get that reconditioned, you also have to get a wheel alignment on top of it. So that was one cost. All right.
Did that deteriorate over the 2 years that the car had been sitting there?
Didn't ask them.
You know?
Didn't ask them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
The other thing is when I checked it in, I asked Chris, do you check the engine mounts each service? He said, yes, we do check that. So we check the same as what they check the coil packs, but they also check the engine mounts and the gearbox mounts. I said, okay, that's fine. Just let me know. They checked those. The engine mounts and the gearbox mounts are very worn, worn down, the rubber. I'm guessing they're the original engine mounts and gearbox mounts. So that that to me is a necessity, so I've gone ahead with that. Yeah.
And I guess you'll notice the difference. Like if they've deteriorated, like that's a wear and tear thing because they're like rubber seal with a hydraulic bit in it, all that sort of stuff. At least when you spend your money on that one, your car is going to feel noticeably better after kind of having those two things replaced.
Yeah, I think so. That was my bottle of water. And I also think, and everything is obviously just being replaced with OEM parts. I'm not doing any special engine mounts. I'm just going OEM.
Oh, did you even ask about
I didn't ask.
The engine ones? Yep.
I didn't ask. I'm happy just to go with factory.
Yep.
So then you've got the coils, the cracks in the coils. Now, the cracks in the coils was something I did ask him about, and I did ask if they checked them. Maybe because I asked they checked them more thoroughly.
Yep.
The reason why I asked is because after watching that video of Friends Green Porsche, where he went through the 996, and he said this is a common issue with 996s, 997s. The original coil packs have an issue where they crack really badly. And if they've cracked, they can go at any time and your car will misfire, right?
Yep.
Or whatever it does.
Yep.
So Chris said, look, they're badly cracked. He said you could leave them, but if they do go, then, you'll get misfiring and whatever. Because I'm about to drive to Oberon in a week and a half's time, which is, only a 3.5-hour drive out of Sydney. I just thought it's best to do it. I don't want to have any issues when I'm in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. So I just thought it's best to do it. That was $1,000. I'll tell you the cost of that. That was $1,000. So based on my total cost, and this will give an indication of what my total cost is, that was quite minimal, Steve. You know what the total cost is. That to me was a minimal cost. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I just don't want to be left out in the middle of nowhere and have that. I just thought it was best to do it. When they do the coils, they should do the spark plugs at the same time, so the spark plugs are being done at the same time.
Yep.
Let me just go back to the service, though. Even though it was an annual service, Steve, the annual service was a little bit more, the cost of it, because they had to, drain my fuel, right?
Yep.
And 2, they had to do all the brake fluids and everything too, because it's been 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Okay. My brakes. Now, my brakes, as Autohaus is always very good with this. They always say, never change your brakes until your sensor comes on. I know I've spoken to other people on owner stories, and they've said that their specialists have said the same thing. We know it's true, Steve. Granted, Autohaus said the same thing. Even though my sensor hasn't come on, my front brakes, one side apparently is quite bad. I think Chris said it's sticking, it's quite worn down, so one side is bad. When they change the brakes, they can't just change one side. You've got to do it in pairs. So they're just doing the front brakes. I'm a bit of a novice with this. I thought you'd had to do all the brakes together, so I said, should I do the rears as well? He said, there's nothing wrong with the rears at the moment. They're fine. But you said to me you don't need to do them as a four-wheel set, right?
No, definitely not. Because they wear it much like tires. They wear it such kind of different rates sort of thing. So when you think about it, like all the braking is done up front because that's where you've got bigger front rotors.
Yeah.
So by rights, like your rears should potentially kind of wear less. But then I think probably in our cars, that's where traction control, the DSC or whatever it's called in Porsche nomenclature, it'll probably do. That's where the electronics will probably do the braking on your rears to kind of keep you on a straight line and all that sort of crap. But maybe it cuts the engine speed. I don't know.
But the thing is with the brakes, we always know the problem. The problem with my brakes when I first bought the car, it had gone to Porsche Sydney. Porsche Sydney said the brakes needed changing. Then I haven't changed the brakes. That's 5 years later.
Bloody hell.
So I think that's okay, right? So I wasn't a problem with that. The price was okay. Just doing the front rotors and pads, right?
You were sort of pondering whether to just kind of have the brakes done anyway. So
yes, I was.
That's not really that sort of surprising in any.
So
sense,
I was expecting that one too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The bump stops. Now my bump stops were split. This is what happens. The bump stops are a very cheap part. Chris didn't tell me this, but I know they are. They're a very cheap part. The labor is the expensive part of changing this.
Yep.
This is not very cheap. It's not super expensive, but it's a lot of money for what it is. They were split, and I think he said when they touched them, they kind of just broke away. They're very perished. So it was wise to do that. So they're going to change the bump stops and they're going to change the rubber at the top of the suspension as well, replace all the rubber.
Yep.
The rubber stopper. I'm not sure of the technical side of it, but the rubber stopper, he said, we'll do that at the same time. It makes sense. So that's been done. And then my lateral front arms, is it? Lateral control arms or whatever you call it. There's a lot of movement in them. So he said you're going to get knocking. He said it's probably best to do that when we've got the steering rack out and we're doing the suspension, etc. Best to do that at the same time. That wasn't...
Yikes, yep.
That wasn't that much. That wasn't that expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if I've had one replaced or whether they've noted it for me on my car. And I know that that's an expensive bit on a GT3. Because I know a lot of people kind of upgrade those, that particular bespoke kind of piece.
Well, I guess yours are carbon, aren't they? You could change them to carbon. You could change them to carbon.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's everything. So that's everything. That's everything at Autohaus. And after,
it's a lot. It is a lot.
Like it's a lot. Yeah. I didn't want to sort of think about it for too long. I spoke to Chris, asked him a couple of questions, and I said, look, let's just do it all. So we're doing it all.
Yeah, which I would do in the same shoes as you. It's hard because I just reckon I don't know if it's luck or whatever else, but like all of those things that you kind of listed and the guys pointed out are things that kind of happen. Like, your car's 15 years old sort of thing. So regardless of mileage, like I know your car is very low mileage and all that sort of stuff, but they are wear and tear sorts of things. It's just kind of unfortunate that like it's all at the same time. Like I've never had, in my ownership experience of different 911s or different cars even, like I've had pretty much all of those things needing to be done at some point in time, but I've just never had them all done in the one hit.
Yeah. And, I justify it to myself because of the fact that, I knew some of these things had to be done in 2019. The steering rack was going to be done in the beginning of 2020, but I left very early in January in 2020 and you need a week to do it. So I couldn't do it, Steve. And I knew the bump stops had to be done. I put them off. You know what I mean? Yep. So most of these things, apart from the coils, the brakes I knew were coming. Most of these things I knew were coming. You know what I mean? They were there. So I guess in that side of it, I'm not really surprised. I think Autohaus has done a great job. They haven't done anything that's not needed. All these things are needed now. I didn't ask Chris about the battery because I asked him to check the battery because I still have this hang up about my battery being 63 and it should be 70.
Yep.
But he said they would test it. It's not on the list, so I'm guessing it's all okay for the battery, so that's good. Maybe I'll do that. I could
call you later. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that in the new year. Hopefully not. I don't want to spend any more money. And I think, just to go back, I think the cost of the service steering rack alignment cost, it could be slightly less because I think Chris said, and I can't recall exactly, I think he said that there was a part he added in, and this was going to your question you asked me yesterday, Steve. There was a part that was added in, I think, which was a $400 part, which he added in, but they're not 100% sure I need it. If I don't need it, then it will come off that cost. Do you know what I'm saying? Cool. So I'm not sure what that was. I can't remember. But, like what Steve was saying, a lot of these things they're just maintenance items. You know what I mean? And we come back to this mileage thing, Steve, and I know you're conscious of driving your car at the moment because you don't want to get it dirty. But, but we come back.
Jeez, that sounds so bad, doesn't it? Such a pansy.
What's wrong with you? So we'll come back to this, we'll come back to the miles thing, right? No miles, no miles you lose thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't, I don't put a lot of miles on my car. I think, my car is, it's like 2,000 kilometers a year. I don't know what that is in mileage, in miles, but it's about I think over the period I've owned it, it's only about 2,000 miles, 2,000 kilometers a year. Bearing in mind, I've been away a lot of that time, even before the 2 years we were away along every, on and off for quite a lot.
Yep.
So it's hard to tell what my actual mileage would be if I was actually driving the car all the time. If I was here all the time and I was driving it. But I don't think you should just not drive your car because you're worried about maintenance items, because this is what we were talking about before, Steve, before we started recording. Maintenance items are going to happen even if you don't drive your car. Things are going to wear out. Things are going to deteriorate. Things are going to split, especially rubber items and stuff. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to fix on your car even if you don't put a lot of miles on it. Sure, you put a lot of miles, brakes are going to wear out quicker, tires are going to wear out quicker, maybe suspension wears out quicker. But in general, there's going to be always a cost involved here, so you can't get, I just don't think, I'd like to know your thought on this, but you just can't get so hung up with this mileage thing. Because if you're not driving a car, you're not enjoying a car, you're not experiencing a car. And as I said in London, mate, before I got here, I don't want to think like that anymore. I'm not thinking like that. I'm happy just to drive it and just drive it as much as possible and do as many drives as possible and just get the mileage on it and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's also like a train of thought where I think like you didn't deliberately not drive your car for 2 years, but like it's not good for cars to kind of sit for that long. Like it's not that you kind of deliberately kind of messed your car up by sort of doing that or whatever else, but like you're just better off driving it. Like you want everything to kind of go through its heat cycles. You want to keep everything kind of lubricated and all that sort of stuff. So the best way to do that is just to drive the thing and enjoy it.
And my car, I'd only driven it to wash it, which is not a very far distance, as you know. And then I drove it yesterday. It was rough. Yep. It was rough. That first bit to get to the Harbour Bridge and over the Harbour Bridge, it was still rough. When I got to Autohaus, it was feeling better. Like I think things had got, but the gears were rough. The engine was, it didn't sound right to me. Even starting it downstairs, it didn't sound right. It sounded a bit spluttery to me, a bit like not good. I guess the old fuel doesn't help. The old oil probably doesn't help. Everything's been sitting. I drove really carefully to Autohaus. I didn't go rev it at all. I made sure I changed up very, as soon as I could. I just kept it very, very smooth because I was really conscious of it. And I think if I had tried to
like a crazy man.
No, I was still doing. No, there wasn't much traffic, and I was still doing the speed limit and stuff like that. But I just, you know what I mean, Steve? Like I was because it felt wrong. But you know what I mean. Like it actually felt wrong. You know how car sounds, and it just didn't sound right. It wasn't smooth. Yep. Even the throttles felt a bit wrong. Like I don't know, a bit delayed. Everything felt delayed.
I think again, the upside to all of this is like, I do actually think that's just kind of part of car ownership, but then step it up to like Porsche ownership or like in car enthusiast ownership where things happen. Like the car is 15 years old, like you do actually kind of need to invest in it to kind of maintain it and all of that sort of stuff. The downside, this is the way I feel about it when it happens to me, and it will happen like hopefully not in the near future, but it definitely will kind of happen where you just kind of go, oh shit, there's a couple of grand that I didn't really expect to spend, not that I didn't really want to spend it. And it's funny when you kind of spend like a substantial amount on the car, but it's different like when you kind of do like an upgrade where you kind of tweak the suspension or the exhaust or even like an interior cosmetic thing where you kind of go, hey, look at this fun new bit or shiny new bit, where some maintenance things you just kind of go, well, you put money into it, but you don't actually necessarily see the end outcome, if you know what I mean. For you, it might be slightly different because I actually do think when you go and pick your car up, it's going to feel like probably substantially better with some of those things like engine mounts and new spark plugs and stuff like that. Like the car should run like, quite a bit better to the point where you can literally kind of feel it, which, is hopefully at least slightly gratifying given the amount of money that you got to spend on the maintenance. So,
yeah, it's a big investment. I mean, when I said Porsches aren't expensive to maintain, well, this bill kind of throws that out the window. But it has been 2 years. But all in all, like I said, this thing, Steve, about not driving a car, right? Most of these things are maintenance. I guess the cracks in the coils is a fault from Porsche because those coils were an issue, and the new coils apparently they've changed, right? I don't know if they're the same in yours or not, but apparently they've, the first ones basically from friends Porsche said it, they're wrong and they should be changed out. I guess that one is kind of, preventative if your car is still working okay. Yep. I guess that's probably the only preventative maintenance that's been done in this list. But to me, if they're that badly cracked, I think it has to be done. I think you just couldn't say no to that. And like I said, it's only $1,000, so it's not that bad.
Yeah. Look, everything kind of adds up. It's a funny kind of mindset when you send your car in. Like I think I was laughing with Marco. Like his 996 Turbo was kind of new to him. He hadn't he had a PPI done, blah blah blah, and then he was kind of sending it in. to Autohaus, and whether it's Autohaus or a dealership or a good independent or whatever, that kind of thing of when you drop the car off and then you're sort of slightly waiting by the phone, waiting for the phone call to see how bad it is or how good it is,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's just kind of part of the deal. Like we all have our kind of war stories, I suppose, but at the end of the day, like you spend the money, if they do a good job, then at least you kind of have the confidence in knowing, like for you, if you kind of wind up doing some kind of good long road trips while you're here and stuff like that, like your car, A, you should drive better, but B, you'll kind of feel pretty confident in sort of driving on something that's been, looked over quite thoroughly.
Exactly. It's good. I'm happy about it. Cool. Let's just get through this quickly.
What about the paintwork?
So Pierre's been great. Hi, Pierre. I know you're probably listening. Pierre at Atlas. If you're in Sydney, and I probably have said this before, I can't remember. If you're in Sydney and you need, if you need any repairs done to your car, to your Prestige car, to your Porsche bodywork, go and see Pierre. Pierre's Atlas Auto Body. A lot of you guys who listen, I know in Sydney, know of Pierre. He's in Artarmon. They work on amazing cars. You should follow him on Instagram as well. Instagram is at atlas.autobody, at atlas, ATLAS, .autobody. Some great cars on the Insta, some great cars go through his workshop. Worth a follow, that's for sure. But Pierre's been looking after me. It's good. He had the part already. He had the bumper part, Steve.
Yep.
Like I said, I was a bit surprised because I thought it was going to be worse, the bumper, than what it was. But I think it's worthwhile getting it changed. Basically, Pierre said it's compromised.
Actually, now I know why you're saying that.
Once it's damaged, it's compromised. Once it's damaged, it's compromised. And then Pierre sent me images yesterday that he says my bumper is already... And that was that image I sent you, which I think maybe you got confused with. That picture I sent yesterday is like stress marks in the bumper, which... I polish and look at my car like really well. I mean, obviously that's there's a light that he's shining on that, I think, to see it. But there's stress fractures or stress marks in the bumper, which means it's been repaired before, and you can actually see the repair on the bumper, which is under one of the lights. That surprised me because I've never, ever seen that.
You sent that to me on WhatsApp. I'm just looking for it again.
You just see it? So that was good. So Pierre sent me that yesterday. Yeah. So Pierre went to, I think Pierre or someone from his workshop went to Autohaus. They take the fuel tank cap, Steve. That's how they do it. They take the fuel tank cap, and that's how they match the color. Did you know that?
Yep. Yes, I did. Remember I said to you that I think that's how they do it?
Did you?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Go listen to the podcast.
Anyway, so that's all under control. So that'll be great. I'm looking forward to meeting Pierre and looking forward to getting my car and when it's all fixed. So the body will be done and the all the servicing will be done. Everything will be fine. So be ready to go for that first spirited drive, Steve. Let me just.
I think you don't know the answer to this question. So like you just liaised with Pierre and told him that the car was going to Autohaus, and then he's kind of just sorting it out whilst it's there.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Do you know how long it's going to take to do the bumper?
I don't know. I'll have to speak to him about it. I'm not sure.
What about the Autohaus work?
Still not sure. Oh, well, the steering rack takes 3 to 4 days.
Yep.
So I think this week, forget about it.
Yep.
I think maybe next week I'll get the car back.
Which is what you were expecting anyway.
Yeah. I'm thinking probably early next week I'll have the car back, which it is what it is. It is what it is. I tried to get a car here.
Anyway, you don't want to go out in the rain.
Well, I tried to get one of the cars here, the share cars. There's one in the street, right? Flexi car. And they suspended my account. I don't understand why. So, and I've emailed them, but apparently they're too busy at the moment to respond to any emails. That's what they sent me back. So we'll wait and see. But I don't have a car. Just quickly, Marco. Hi, Marco. Marco was on Owner Stories 996 Turbo, Steve's cousin-in-law. Marco messaged me. Latheworks, you guys know about the knobs. Latheworks have finished our knobs. They've shipped them. They look absolutely amazing, Steve. They look really good, the quality. I know you've got one. I hope it's still in your car because it really is a fantastic shift knob.
I swapped it over.
I don't know why you would do that because put the black one in. Put the black poly one back on.
That's what I've been driving with.
Has it got a good feel?
It does. It does. It's got, like I keep saying to you, I reckon you and Marco will notice a more noticeable difference in the driving because it's kind of quite weighty, whereas my numeric is already sort of super stiff and notchy, so you can't notice the weight. But I've been driving around with that black copolymer thing with the engraving on the top of it for since lockdown ended. And then literally just a couple of days ago, I just unscrewed it and I put the wooden lathe works knob on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope the height of the rod is okay. I hope everything's okay with that. I mean, Marcus said he adjusted it and it's supposed to be the same as yours. If you want to go and see that to the listeners, though, go and have a look at, I don't know what their Instagram is, Steve. Is it WC Latheworks?
WC Latheworks, I think.
Yeah. Go to WC Latheworks. There's probably the last image. There's a group of knobs there. Marco's ones are the black with the yellow, and I think he's got the stainless Speed Blaster one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and mine is the black one, the plain black one with the white engraving. I don't know who owns the other ones, but they look really cool. So really looking forward to getting that. Hopefully it won't be a month away, like Australian Post is very slow. Hopefully it'll be quickly.
Do you know how it's coming?
I think it's courier. I think Marco said it's courier.
Okay,
I think.
so it'll be
I'm
quicker
not sure.
then. Cool.
Hopefully it'll be here.
Yep.
And that's about it. That's about an update. I'll update again next week, Steve, once I've got the car back, and hopefully, well, I don't know. Hopefully by next week's episode, I've gone for a drive with all the work done. Hopefully,
cool.
If it comes back early in the week, hopefully it's all ready to go for a drive and go for a midweek drive to Putty or something very quickly.
Yeah, give me a tingle
if you're free. Maybe it's on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe there's a midweek Putty drive in the works there. That would be good.
That would suit me better. Like weekends is, I just reckon traffic's still kind of a bit full on. Work seems to be kind of dipping a little bit, I think.
Put the baby seats in. Bring the girls.
I was looking at, actually, maybe somebody, I keep forgetting that there's this sort of podcast world out there. Can anyone tell me if you can fit a booster seat in a bucket, in a sports bucket?
Lightweight bucket.
Whether it's like the Carrera style bucket or, like if you've kind of got like a 991 or whatever, or I've seen them in the folding GT2 sort of buckets, but I'm just kind of curious to know whether or not anyone's kind of fitted like a kiddie seat to a Carrera GT style bucket seat or a 991/992 seat.
Okay. Reach out to me if you want at PorscheCooled. Send me a DM or send Steve a DM send Steve a DM to Steve's DM Instagram.
Even though I'm the one asking the question.
And I was just thinking on that same thought, wouldn't it be cool? And I guess this wouldn't get approved in Australia or US or UK or Europe. But, in between your bars, roll bars, imagine if you had like a little baby bassinet thing. And it sort of rocks the baby. Like if it was secure enough, it just sort of moves slightly with the car. You could have it like in between the seats.
You possibly don't remember, but when I got Walter, my mini Schnauzer, that's how he used to roll in that car.
I do remember.
I remember I had the little doggy basket thing that was kind of propped in the back thing, and it was sort of strapped to the bar. It didn't rock.
So it's okay for dogs.
Obviously, but he used to kind of roll around like that. Because he's so small that I could at least get him in the back. But
yeah, he's big now though, right?
Oh, bigger.
I saw one the other day in London. I said, "There's Walter." I saw one. Someone had one.
Oh, mini Schnauzer.
Yeah, a lot of dogs in London at the moment. All dogs are allowed in apartments again.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, we've got a couple more things to get through, but we're only going to run out of time. I just want to say this. There's a PorscheCooled WhatsApp group. If you want to, this is to the listener, Steve, because I know you won't. I think it's open to everyone. It was set up by Bernard Ibita.
Still don't know what that means.
Ajmal sent me the invite. I think if you want to join that WhatsApp, I'm not an admin of it. I'm not controlling it. But if you want to join it, there's a lot of guys there talking about Porsches and stuff, and it's a really sort of passionate group. So maybe reach out to. I don't know who you can reach out to. Maybe Ajmal. Ajmal's going to hate me. All these people. Ajmal's an admin of that WhatsApp, so Ajmal can probably add you if you want to be a member, want to be on that chat. Okay. I'm on there as well. I don't talk all the time, but I am on there.
Ajmal sold a few of his cars, right?
I haven't watched his video, but apparently so, yeah. I don't want to ask him until I watch the video.
He's not selling the 912. His wife suggested that maybe he should hang on to it.
Oh, really?
What a good wife he's got there.
Yeah.
Because there's no way in hell my wife would tell me that. Oh, you're selling the Porsche? Yeah, cool. Yeah, he sold the Golf R, he sold the MG, or he's taken it to that, whatever it's called, the market.
The market, yeah. Where he bought his 912 from.
He sold that shitbox wagon thing, Pongo.
Pongo.
So I do pay attention to Ajmal, I just don't talk.
Hi, Ajmal. Like I always say, if you haven't been to Ajmal's, I always like to give a shout out to Ajmal because he puts in so much work to these videos. I haven't put any videos up. I know people were expecting me to do an install video. Look, me and install videos, they don't really work that well. I did that console lid cover ages ago. I'll leave the install videos to people like Auto Amateur and Home Built by Jeff and people like that, who know what they're doing, especially Home Built by Jeff, It's not me. It's not me, these install videos. But I will do a video.
Did you watch that latest one that he did?
Not yet. I like Jeff though. He's good. I like how he does stuff.
I saw he started up his the V8 and his Boxster. Bloody hell.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. It sounds really good.
Hopefully we'll get to see that. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I just don't understand. I still can't believe he's put that engine into that Boxster. It's crazy.
Yeah, more to the point is I've got no idea what his background is, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But to kind of piece that car together the way that he used, install a Audi V8 into a Boxster and then have to kind of fabricate a whole bunch of mounts and the exhaust and this and that and everything else. But then he's is the intention that this car's going on track?
I think that was the intention when he bought it. I haven't watched all of Jeff's videos. By the way,
is
if you
that
haven't been
not the most extreme usage of a car that you've just kind of pieced together?
But I guess he probably bought that car quite cheap. I mean, that person that owned it, I think he said it was the cheapest one. What they did to it was just terrible. You know what I mean? The look of that car was just scary. But he's pretty talented. I think he said in an earlier video he's a fireman. I know, Jeff, you listen to some of these. I'm not sure if you're listening today, but, he's talented, man. He's got skills. I don't know how you do it, Jeff. Really, the amount of work you do, building, fabricating, all that stuff. It'd be interesting to see this car on track, how it handles. I'd like to know how it handles, actually. Be very interesting. Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of handling, let's get on to the main topic that was around all the Porsche channels and all the Porsche podcasts and YouTube channels, Stephen. We've missed it a bit, but I think we should touch on it because it is pretty important. The Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 RS. That's the full name for it, by the way. Mostly known as the GT4 RS.
Yep.
So they've released it. I know it wasn't a surprise. Everyone was expecting it. It's another naturally aspirated flat six engine from Porsche. Is the engine from the GT Cup racing car or something? GT3 Racing Cup.
It's a GT3 engine. It's a GT3 engine, though. So they've finally not kind of compromised and tried to kind of scupper the performance of the Cayman, and they've finally put the best engine they could in what is supposed to be a very good chassis, and it sounds and looks like it's unreal.
Do you know the price of this car? Have they released the pricing?
No, even if you could afford it, you can't get one. So
you can't get one, right? It'd be hard to get one. I think
the interesting thing about the engine bit, though, is that those scoops, how they replace the rear quarter windows, and they put
that's
those,
cool. That's a cool feature.
Air scoops, that noise, the induction noise that kind of comes from that must be pretty amazing.
It looks good. I like how it looks. I think it looks pretty good. And this is a last hurrah, right? Because the next Cayman could be fully electric. This could be it. You know what I mean? If that Mission R is the Cayman, which some people are saying it is the Cayman or the 718 or whatever you're going to call it, then this is the last hurrah. And they've really gone all out. You know what I mean? It revs, and I've got some specs here I wrote down. It revs as high as 9,000 RPM. It has an extra 59 kW power, extra 80 PS. Maximum torque has been increased from 430 to 450. Not a lot. Like Steve just said, the really cool feature is those process air intakes behind the driver and passenger windows, which look really, really good, which was where the side windows normally are. They're for airflow, Steve. Noise is the main thing that we're all interested in. The noise right next to your ear, it's that close to your ear, so the sound should be amazing.
Because even the old GT4, the first gen one, sounded pretty good, even though it had the non-GT engine, the 3.8. Carrera engine. That still sounded amazing. Whenever you sort of hear the videos, if you hear it from the interior side and the exterior side, it always sounded really good. Like, and I remember reading something about the fact that the exhaust systems are obviously different because the engine is mid-mounted, not rear-mounted, which means the exhaust system is longer, which affects something to do with the kind of audio experience of it.
Right.
But Caymans always sound really good regardless. So it'd be interesting to see if, like, now that they've put this amazing GT3 engine that revs to 9,000 in a Cayman, whether it potentially sounds better than a GT3?
Possibly louder, possibly. Yeah. And we all know the transmission is like every modern RS, it's PDK, dual clutch, 7 gears, I think it is. 7? Yeah, 7 gears. So you change it by paddles. Obviously, there's a lever, the normal changer on the center console. Weight, Steve. Weight I thought was quite interesting. Lightweight construction. That, you know, 2-seater, as we know, the Gt4 Rs is a 2-seater. It weighs 1,415 kilograms with a full fuel tank and without a driver, so dependent on the driver. 35 kilograms less than a PDK-equipped 718 GT4. I thought that was a lot. 35 kilograms is a lot.
You reckon? I don't know.
No?
I still think it's kind of funny. Like, 35 kilos is not that much when you think about it. Like, you can lift 35 kilos. I know you can't necessarily lose 35 kilos off your own weight to kind of save, but it's not really that substantial, is it?
I think it is.
You reckon? Like, how much was your luggage? One person, 25 kilos. It's like one suitcase kind of thing.
Our luggage was 110 kilos. Oh, just one bag.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I'm sort of saying? Like, when you kind of think about, like, literally 35 kilos out of something that weighs like well over a ton kind of thing.
True.
And they kind of say to you that, you know, we spent all this time and money and blah, 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 to the point where you kind of, you know, the badge is a sticker and, you know, like they don't paint the kind of bonnet because, like, they save the kind of weight from the paint and all that type of thing.
It's a selling point, right? So they've used, you know, carbon fiber, obviously. Carbon fiber reinforced plastic, they call it. I don't know. Is that carbon fiber or is that something else? That's for the bonnet. Composite for the bonnet and front wings. Lightweight carpets. Very, very little insulation material. Rear window is made of lightweight glass, which we all like. Lightweight door panels with textile fabric. I don't know what the fabric is. I think that's the hemp fabric, isn't it?
Race tech. Oh, the hemp thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's got the wing, swan neck wing, which we're familiar with from the GT3. What else? It comes with a Visac package if you want it, which I think if you bought this car, you'd have to option it with the Visac package, Steve. And the Visac package has the front luggage compartment lid, the process air intakes, the cooling air intakes, the airbox cover, the exterior mirror upper trims, and the rear wing have a carbon weave finish. So that's like more of an exposed carbon look, right?
But didn't they say, didn't Andreas Proninger on the Spikes kind of podcast, didn't he say something like with the Weissack on the GT3 RS, or maybe it was a GT2, that it was almost like 80 or 90% of orders spec'd Weissack?
I heard that on an earlier podcast. I haven't listened to that one properly. And someone said
it's almost like if you order one, you have to order it kind of thing.
Yeah, but the non-Weissack are actually rarer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you got a rarer car. You see how they said the titanium tailpipes? They said it looks similar to the exhaust system on the Porsche 935. Does that mean that it is the exhaust system from the Porsche 935 or just similar
it's just got
style?
that sort of fussier kind of look to it. Like it's kind of got those little fins on the inside of the double-walled kind of tip.
The one thing I did like about the Visac package is, we always like a roll cage in titanium, right? I like the color of the roll cage when it's in titanium. Always looks cool. But the other thing I thought was interesting, apart from the dashboard upholstered in race text, that was just normal, there was the large Porsche logo integrated into the rear window. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I haven't seen a picture.
Really not sure about that.
Have you seen an image of it?
Yeah, I have.
Is it bad?
You can either get it in blue or black or silver, and it's like
really
both of them are pretty kind of garish.
I think if you could get the Visac package and untick that, I'm not sure if that one works for me. I haven't seen it, but and then the optional thing, which is another thing which you'd like to tick, but God knows how much it would cost, are the 20-inch forged magnesium wheels.
Yeah. In
and
blue.
you would have
what do you think of the blue?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
But
then, how many colours will
I don't know.
those blue wheels or that blue trim? Like, there's only so many kind of colours of car that will actually kind of work with.
Yeah. But you would have to, Steve, get a wheel and tyre package, insurance or whatever to cover that if you got the magnesium wheels. Can you imagine if you curb them or wreck them? I don't know. Yeah. Scary. It's like having carbon fibre wheels. Like, I like the look of some of these carbon fibre wheels. I think they look very cool, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be... Speaking about scared to drive your car, I think I'd be scared to drive a car with carbon fibre wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into kind of carbon fibre wheels. Like, I like my carbon fibre, but there's something funny in the wheel designs. Like, the last one that Porsche did was on that special gold Turbo S, wasn't it? I think they were an option.
Oh, yes. The exclusive manufacturer Turbo S had the carbons. You're right.
Yeah, didn't quite like the look of the style of the wheels.
I didn't mind it. But apart from that, I mean, obviously it's going to be sold out. Obviously, you're not going to get an allocation unless you've bought something from Porsche before, like a 918 or a GT3. So, will new customers get to experience a GT4 RS and buy it new? Probably not. It's probably going to be customers who've had cars before. You'll have to wait till the second market comes up or people flip them, which they'll be selling for a lot more.
Yep.
I think this one is going to be very, very sought after, though. Very, very sought after.
No, they all are, I suppose. But it does look cool. I mean, I bet you it's amazing to drive, and I bet you it sounds kind of amazing. So,
for sure. Steve, that's it. Let's call it.
Cool.
Anything else you want to share? You want to share your Instagram so people can DM you about those baby seats?
No, mate. Just somebody out there just tell me whether or not it's actually kind of possible. I've trolled tons of forums, actually, because the other thing I don't really understand, and this is like my level of parenting, is at what age or what height am I allowed to have my daughter come in my GT3 with me?
5, isn't it?
Is it?
I would say 5.
Okay. Do I hear anything else? Can somebody else kind of clarify that?
Someone help Steve out with that one. I'm sure there's people out there who know.
Yeah.
Steve, let's go. It's almost midday.
Nice to have you home, mate.
Thank you, mate. I hope we look. I really do hope I covered everything for people today. I know a lot of people have been sending me messages and asking me, and I know I haven't answered every message because I haven't really been on social that much in the past few days. But we will update you next week. We'll talk about it. Hopefully, I'll have the car back, and hopefully, Steve and I have got time or got out and had a drive together, and we'll take some images for everyone.
When are you going,
Steve?
When are you going to Oberon?
Going to Oberon. My niece is getting married on the 7th of December, so we're going 7th of December morning, and then we're just staying.
That'll
one
be a
night.
fun drive.
Staying one night, coming back. Yeah, so that's it.
Cool.
So we're good. Hopefully the weather's nice. It's shitty weather here in Sydney. It's like for people who live in London, in the UK, this is like a cloudy summer day in London where it's it's still warm. You don't need a jacket, but it's just miserable. It's grey, miserable, awful.
Can't tell whether it's going to rain or not, right? I'm actually thinking go for a drive because I'm just feeling really cooped up. So
yeah, go for a drive. Go for a drive and buy something. Go and buy a new iPhone. Go and buy a new iPhone.
Can I have your credit card done?
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Steve.
All good, mate.
All right. See you again. I'll see you soon. Talk soon. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to the podcast today. It's good to be back. Thanks for the support and thanks for waiting for us to redo this episode. I know you guys a week sometimes is a long time between episodes, and I can see it. There's been no one listening to the podcast at all because everyone likes new content. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.